Let me try and introduce these two players. Up in the top right position, we have got the green Protoss player. He plays for CM Storm. It's Pandatank. Gotta love a bit of Pandatank. I'm sure people will go hyper in the chat now I've said Pandatank. Anyway, down in the bottom left, we have got the red Zerg player from UP. It is Hydra. Oh, so good. A little Protoss versus Zerg. I love this matchup. Like, on a scale of 1 to awesome, PvZ definitely comes on awesome. There's so much fun things happening. And to be honest, I just like the way it all integrates. And, of course, being on Neoplanet S, Pandatank already does quite like some of his two base plays. Let's face it that much. So, Neoplanet S is quite a suited map for him. He is going to be going for that gateway expand. Meanwhile, Hydra should just go for either 14 or 15 pull, followed up by a quick hatchery, get a gas down, and be quite happy about it. He doesn't need to rush down the third, because, of course, gateway opening, everything's safe there. You don't need to try and take a third, because you don't have to try and out-expand that quickly. Interesting Panda chose to go for a gateway expand on Neoplanet S, because generally speaking, Neoplanet S is a map where you can quite comfortably get away with a forge fast expand. It's got a really narrow entrance to the natural, and quite a lot of players try and utilize that to their advantage, but to the same extent, the current metagame is all about the gateway expands. Lots of Protoss players really enjoying it, enjoying the fact that they get a couple of units out earlier, they can put on some really early aggression, and just have a lot of good follow-ups to it. I mean, when you do take down that natural nexus, you can chuck down 3 additional gates, go for some delayed 4-gate pressure with a mothership core. That's great, but you can come in mass recall if things go a bit pear-shaped. On the other hand, though, you can go for 2 gates, plus a Stargate, plus a Robo, Twilight Council, whatever you want, and just be quite happy getting that done as a nice tech. Now, Hydra, ooh, has he's gone hatch pool, hatch gas pool even. Hydra, your opponent doesn't have an hatchery. Your Overlord is now seeing that, but you are committing to this like a boss anyway. You're just like, yeah, he's all one base, so I'll just go up to, I'll go 3. Because I don't need anything to defend with if he's clearly getting units. Okay, Hydra, I have faith. I reckon you can make this work. I don't know how you're going to make this work. But if Hydra just comes and scouts this, he can come and kill you. Be careful, Panda, come on. Okay, Pandatank. Don't go and look for the third, because if you see that down that early, you're going to have some fun times. The Mothership Core is coming out. Of course, the Zealot has been cancelled. Now, that's a really critical thing to note. It was constructing in case there was early aggression, but then it was just like, no, I don't need that. And Pandatank now doesn't actually have any units to come and start poking. Does see the hatchery timing, going to come in there, get a little look around. Queens should get started soon. Hydra getting some, well, 4 Zerglings out first, just to be playing on the safe side, which I can't blame him. Playing on the safe side is definitely a good move when you're sitting on a situation where you've got a hatch pool opening against someone who went in for a gate expand. The Stargate is now on its way. This is a cool little strat from Pandatank coming down. Is it going to be some Oracles? Probably not. More likely to be a couple of Phoenix, potentially even some Void Ray can be nice here. So got to keep an eye on what Pandatank does there. He has scouted out the third base, so knows exactly the opening, and that could be influencing why he decided to go for that Stargate. Maybe think you can get a quick little bit of damage in there, which certainly you can on an opening like this. It's definitely fun time. So as we see here, Mothership Core coming and have a little poke around, going to be like, okay, where are the Zerglings? The Mothership Core and the Zealot is going to be able to easily deal with quite a few Lings, actually. Already starting to chip it down. The Queen trying to come forward. Has got to be careful. It's off creep, which is always dangerous times. The Mothership Core doesn't want to engage the Queen, though, without the Zealot support, because it will get taken out. Not something you want to risk. There's some Phoenix on their way down. So this means that, of course, Overlords get pushed back off the map. You can get some nice harassment going. Pandatank also walling off there with the 2 additional gateways. So going really tech heavy. Meanwhile, Hydra, 1 evolution chamber, speed about to kick in, and isn't actually droning that heavily. He's down in the work account, being forced to make a lot of Lings early on. And that could be potentially a bit of a dangerous thing, because all in all, let's face it, the drone count wants to be high if you've gone for hatch pull. It's got to be high. You've committed a lot to that economic boost, and if you don't make something of it, you're going to be in some dangerous spots. But Hydra now getting supply block. No Overlords in production yet either. This is going to be really frustrating for him. About a 30-second supply block there after the Phoenix picked off that Overlord. Actually going to go and pick off another one too. Zerglings are going to try and put it into the natural base, but the wall-off is complete with that Zealot, so will not be able to achieve too much. A warping coming down from the bottom right. Just a couple of Zealots. 3 gates worth of pressure. Doing quite a lot here, and there's nothing in terms of defense. The Zergling count only sitting at 8 up against is 5 Zealots, plus these Phoenix 2 and the Mothership Core. This is actually quite a scary composition. Add in the fact that a proxy pylon coming right next to the third. It doesn't even matter Panda's this one to the right because he's got another. More Zerglings on their way out. It's only Lings, remember. There ain't no Roach Warren or anything, any Spines even down to defend. It's Queens and Lings up against a lot of Zealots. The Creep Team are coming down and be like, whoa, that's Zealots. Not something you want to see. The Speedlings trying to come in, but the Zealots are pretty much fighting 1 against 2, which is very good. The Phoenix are lifting the Queen in a bit of a risky spot. The Spore Caller trying to take those out, but will be forced to put it back. The Queen not getting lifted, could get taken out here. There we go. There's the second lift, just as you want. Panda pushing in with just the mass Zealots at the moment. They do get surrounded by those Lings, but the upgrades are 0-0 on both sides, so obviously these Zealots going to do quite a nice job. The Spore Caller going to get focused down, allowing those Phoenix to get back in, allowing the Mothership Core to come and close up the distance. This third hatching a lot of problems. Hydra being forced to make just so many Zerglings, but not really getting the critical mass he needs. He's also down by 9 workers, even though he went for this super economic opening. The Zealots still pushing against it hard. Need to keep their backs against the wall, trying to prevent the surface area of the Lings getting too great, trying to stop them getting focused down too quickly. But here we go. Zealots are now going to get cleaned up, but the Phoenix still have free reign. The Mothership Core free reign because there is no anti-air at this third. And that of course means Overlords getting picked off as they pop out, very frustrating. Another wave of Warpins has also come with that proxy pylon to the right of the third of Hydra, and this is just going to keep getting bigger and badder. And all the while, probe production is still going on fine for Pandatank. He's just making sure that he keeps production up, keeps putting on the pressure. He's actually got 2 pylons here just to keep the Warpins going. Nice little time warp there, bit late, not going to be able to do too much, and of course the Zealots will now get cleaned up. Pandatank going to lose these 2 pylons, but in terms of damage, it's relatively equal. But even though the resources lost is near identical at the moment, the big difference is the worker count. A 10 probe advantage to Pandatank. That's pretty huge. He's also been able to pick off Queens. The third hasn't been injecting for a long while, but big counter pressure is on its way in. A lot of Lings outside Pandatank's natural base. He does spot them with that Phoenix, but doesn't have any sentries here, so can't even go for the force field. The Zealot alone will be able to engage 1 Ling at a time, but you're going to need to make sure that you get these force fields down, Panda, because these Lings could be a little bit dangerous. There's not too many, but now with those sentries there, we'll be able to get saved. The Phoenix production is still getting ramped up. 6 down on the field, about to be 7. Of course, they're just finding any Overlord that they can. They can start picking away at that. The drone count, the worker count still in Pandatank's favor. Amazingly, he's got the 1-1 upgrades coming down as well. +1 carapace is already done though for Hydra. +1 melee also on its way down. So it's going to be relatively equal upgrades, at least for the near future. In terms of tech, just the Stargate and 3 gateways sitting there for Pandatank. But for Hydra, he's got nothing but those upgrades going for him. No lair started. As I say that, it begins. But yeah, he's definitely not in the most comfortable position. This is gonna be fairly fun times for Pandatank. Now, Hydra just trying to do some aggression with these Lings. With so many sentries in this wall off, he's not going to be able to break through there. 5 more gateways coming out. Pandatank gonna be going up to the mythical 8 gate, the point of which with 1-1 you can start putting on an extreme amount of pain. It's going to be really difficult for Hydra to hold this. What he needs is some Hydralisks down. Why Hydralisks? There's no robotics facility. Therefore, there is not going to be a robotics bay. No Colossi for a long time. Hydras wreck everything as long as there aren't Colossi down there and they're starting to tank up the damage. Ling Hydra, going to be very strong composition if Hydra decides to go for it. So that's up against Pandatank, who's getting down his Twilight Council, ready to start 2-2 as soon as 1-1 finishes. He's also getting down a ton of Spore Callers everywhere, just trying to make sure these Phoenix can't dance around too much, can't be too awkward, too annoying, too irritating. So we'll have to keep a good little eye down on that. And yeah, all in all, Phoenix still up to a pretty high number. We've got 7 out, but Hydra now getting the Hydra Den and the Baneling Nest. Very interesting times. So this is the sort of thing which is always good to see, but with the Twilight Council, Templar Archives coming down after Twilight Council, that means Pandatank does have the option to get out some High Templar. High Templar, of course, with Storm, starts shredding through Hydras. The Hydra Den just finishing, production only now starting, but the gateway push already on its way. A lot of sentries here, a lot of Zealots, but they're going to die very quickly to Hydralisks as long as they've got a bit of support. There's a very small window of opportunity here for Pandatank. He does have full energy on that Mothership Core. That means Time Warp plus Mass Recall is available, and it could very well be essential. Now, in come the Zerglings. They're going to try and get a nice little bit of surround. Force Field's already going, though. The Zealots engaging quite well. It's 1-1 up against 1-1, but Pandatank doesn't quite have enough here, especially with those Banelings coming in. A very big vulnerability to the sentries if they get some good connects. No Storm getting research either. quite yet. 2-2 is about half done here for Pandatank as well. So he's going to need to make sure that he gets that 2-2 down and is very, very careful. Getting a couple of Archons, but the Hydras is the big risk. The Hydralisks are going to be able to do so much damage to this entire army, hallucinating a couple of Archons as well. Good little mind games coming in here from Pandatank to try and make his army look a bit more intimidating. But those Hydras still are such a big threat. That's why he's retreating back. Mothership Core all out of position. Gets knocked down. The double time warp because you may as well spend the money somehow, but that's a nice little snipe for Hydra, who's busy getting +2 melee attack, which is not going to benefit those Hydras, obviously. But Pandatank, busy trying to take his third, does manage to take it down, but, of course, a Zergling discovers that it's on its way. That's a big giveaway to Hydra about what's happening. He's getting his Rotor on, which I think really is an essential piece to this puzzle. He needs something to tank up the damage for those Hydras, but with Storm on its way, and 2-2 just kicked in for Pandatank, he's actually going to be in quite a good position. If he can get Storm down, he doesn't want to engage before Storm because he needs to get Sonic Storm hitting the Hydralisks to knock them out quickly because they're the big damage dealers of this army. The Banelings will also go down relatively quickly to those Storms too. So these are the big things that Pandatank needs to make sure that Hydra isn't able to get out and keep out in large number. Let's talk a little bit about the work count though. Pandatank is still ahead, 51 probes to 49 drones. He's been ahead all game. And that means his economy has been solid. He's securing up a third base as well. That puts pressure on Hydra to try and take a fourth. The creep spread slowly moving forward, going both ways around the map, keeping a good eye out in case any counterattacks coming down. And Hydra is now going to secure up his fourth base. So he's still expanding, still trying to stay a base up. A Zealot warping down at the bottom here is going to do some nice damage. Will be alerting Hydra though after those lings run by. But Hydra's got to be very careful about moving his army too much because that would open up the front. Pandatank is retreating back. He's got about a 20 supply lead at the moment. But his tech is only basically High Templar. And that's all he really teched up to. He does have +3 ground weapons coming in. Could do it starting +3 armor as well. Keep that upgrade pumping. Getting some more cannons down at his third. And this is actually turning into a bit of a longer game. And when he does start getting there, that's when things can get a little bit more fun. We see the High Templar are still sitting there, banking up a lot of energy. There's 4 High Templar with Storm done, and these Storms, I cannot emphasize how essential they're going to be. A couple of hallucinated Stalkers even coming in there. This is just Pandatank making sure that he makes his army look as scary as it can. And if he is able to do that, that would be a pretty good move because he doesn't want Hydra engaging yet. He wants to be able to get up more of a force, get those upgrades coming in. 2-1 upgrades are done for Hydra, but they're melee attack, which isn't going to be too helpful for him, considering the fact that most of his army is containing Hydralisks and Roaches. Yes, there are 75 Zlings and a couple of Banelings there, but with the good force fields and the high sentry count from Pandatank, he's going to be able to do a good job of zoning those out. And Phoenix now picking off the 4th base Overlord for Hydra there, so that means Pandatank, once the creepers receded at the top of the map, will be able to place down the 4th. Now getting his robotics facility, but Hydra, I don't know, he's starting to look like he wants to get in a good position. He's starting to posture forward. The Storms are going to be the absolute biggest things, and if he does start coming in with those, it could be really important. Now, of course, some of the options that Hydra does have available to him is he can go up into Ultras, but the trouble with that is he doesn't yet even have down his infestation. But the other big problem is we're already at the 20-minute mark, and therefore at the 20-minute mark you want to be getting those Ultra rushes down quicker. So he's probably going to be for some Vipers, but the upgrades don't lead themselves to that too nicely. And all in all, we just see now Hydra being very defensive. That's giving Pandatank time to get down 3-3-3. Weapon attack is about to kick in. +3 ground armor is also on its way. There's +1 missile attack now coming down here for Hydra, knowing that he's got to get those upgrades up when he's committing heavily to these Roaches and Hydralisks. But with the robotics bay there, and the second robotics facility on the way for Panda, that means he's going to start the double Colossus production. That's the tech switch he needs. He's going to get a really nice army. Ooh, Warpin of Zealots coming in to the 4th base of Hydra here, doing a nice little bit of damage, picking apart the Queen. Also going to get a couple of drones here. Very frustrating for Hydra, who still has never got a commanding lead in terms of drones. Still at 58 to the 60 probes of Pandatank. That is ace for him, because when he starts doing that, he's going to be able to really prevent the economy of Hydra building up. The Roaches are pushing around. Spinecall is coming down, trying to prevent that happening again. But a big Zealot warp in, even with 3-2, let alone 3-3, won't do too well against, will do very well actually against Spinecallers. So going to need a bit more defense than that from Hydra if he wants to prevent that occurring again. Of course, Pandatank is down a little bit in supply, but that's because ultimately Hydra has got 23 Roaches out. Very supply heavy, something he needs to look at losing in the later stages. And my other concern for Hydra is he isn't going up to Hive Tech. He doesn't even have the infestation pit down still. And ultimately, without that Hydra, without that infestation pit, no Hive, that flat out means that he cannot get Vipers, cannot get Ultras, cannot get anything along there, and so he's stuck on this Roach Hydra tech. And once the Colossus count with double Colossus production starts occurring, he's going to be able to deal with that very quickly. Pandatank looking to be in a good spot. There's the infestation pit starting for Hydra. He needs to tech up very quickly. Could even look at getting down some swarm hosts in the late game, looking to tech switch it up, because the opportune window for going Ultras in the late game is if you get it quite quick. That's the really big thing. He needs to make sure that if you're going for that quick rush up to Ultras, ideally you don't even get the Hydras down at any point. You just go straight up, get it as quickly as you can. That Colossus revealing itself to the Roaches there. Got to be careful not to get sniped off. But actually Pandatank now maxed out. Drop tech getting researched here from Hydra. He's going to be going for the Baneling Rain. And yeah, all in all, this is looking pretty good now for Pandatank. He's starting to push forward. The Colossus count is only going to be at 3, but he does have those storms. 7 High Templar on the field. Panda, if he gets good storms, is going to be in a nice spot. A big Zealot warping coming in towards the 4th base again for Pandatank here. Hydra, does he have enough to defend this? Well, they're 3-3-1 Zealots, and they are just shredding through those Spine Crawlers. Hydra really needs this base. The Spine Crawlers are getting taken out. He's being forced to pull all of his army back to start dealing with this. The Zerglings are only 2-2 up against 3-3. The Hydras, though, with the good fire spawn, coming and cleaning that out. But still, this has opened up the bottom of the map. We see Pandatank starting to push through there, dealing some nice damage. Is going to be able to pick up these Spine Crawlers before they finish. The Colossi doing a nice bit of work there. Drop tech is still quite a long way away from finishing. Pathogen Glands is also nearly done, so Infestors can get started up soon for Hydra. But he needs Hive Tech at this point. There comes down the storm that he wanted, the storm that he needed. And of course, they're going to keep coming. A couple of force codes go down. Those storms weren't quite on the money, but Hydra now down to under 150 supply for a moment. Resupplying with 12 Infestors. Maybe they can save him. He needs to make sure that he gets good fungal growth stuff and a lot of infested Terrans down. But of course, the Ultras, they're not going to be anywhere on the card. None of the Hive Tech anywhere on the cards because the Hive is not yet done. In comes forward this army even further. Zealot warp pins to the 3rd base. Hydra looking to be in a bit of a tough spot. A couple of force fields going down. In terms of resources lost this game, Hydra losing 11,000 to just the 7,000 of Pandatank, and these Zealots are still just working away. Spine Crawlers against 3-3-1 Zealots, soon to be 3-3-2 Zealots, are not going to be too effective. The 4th base even getting picked apart here. Pandatank just happy to try and leave this in a situation where actually you can see that good couple of Baneling drops coming down, but just getting cleaned up so quickly, not as effective as Hydra would have wanted it to be, but good thought process there. The Overlords getting taken out, the Infestors getting some great fungals down. That's going to do a nice little bit of damage and a big bit of delay, but of course, beside all this, Pandatank still at 61 probes to 48 drones. Hydra does not have the economy to keep trading like this. He needs to get the good engagements. The fungal rate still going down. The Hydra's engaging very well. Pandatank losing a lot here, but the Colossi still staying up. There's the storms, and these storms dealing so much damage. Exactly what Pandatank needs. The Infestor count tumbling down. 31 Roaches are now in production for Hydra. The Pandatank is pushing forward. The 3rd base still getting attacked by Zealots. The 4th base also getting attacked by Zealots. The 3rd has now fallen. The 4th is getting cleaned up too. Hydra, he just doesn't have enough economy. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the story of this game. He's got a bit of a mineral bank, but it's the gas income that's really lacking for him. And why losing these expansions is going to be a big problem. And all in all, Roaches starting to push forward. We do see them making actually good progress. The Colossus trying to get away. The Stalkers now in there. These are 3-3-2 Stalkers and ground units. So a very strong force here for Pandatank. Hydra trying to clean it up just through sheer numbers. He is pushing in as close as he can. But Pandatank, every wave, every push up against these Colossi is getting harder and harder because it's only 2-2 upgrades. Hydra there. GG's out. Pandatank takes game